All right, this is the guided assignment for chapter 24. Well, I'll just get to it. It shouldn't be too bad. So, the accountant for a subunit of race or sports company went on vacation before completing their responsibility report. This is as far as she got. So here's as far as she got. And they want us to complete it. So someone like our coworker didn't do their job and we have to do it for them. So really, we're just supposed to complete this line by line. And really, all we really need to know is that the variance, so flexible budget variance is always the actual results minus the flexible budget. If the actual results are higher than the flexible budget, so if then that will be a favorable variance, and if flexible budget is higher than actual results, that'll be unfavorable. And then our sales for volume variance is just our flexible budget minus our static budget. And again, if flexible budget's higher, that'll be favorable. If static budget is higher, then that will be unfavorable. Now, even though I just said you take the one minus the other, you always report the absolute value of it. So you never show it as a negative. Okay, so let me just give some examples of that. So what they're asking us to do is sort of figure out how each of these work. Here we know our static budget is 297, and that there was a favorable variance to sales volume of 17,000, which means the flexible budget must be 17,000 higher than the static budget. So to figure that out, I'll just take 297,000 plus 100 or plus 17,000. That gives us a flexible budget of 314,000. And then to figure out our flexible budget variance, we would just take our actual results, 320,000 minus 314, to give us a variance of 6,000. And that's favorable. It's favorable because the actual results are higher. On the next line, now we're given all three, the actual results, flexible budget, and static budget. We just need to find the variances. So again, on this one, I'm going to take the actual results, 159,000, minus the flexible budget, 166,000. So I got -7. So I'm going to report, or that's -7,000. So I'm going to report that as 7,000. And the negative means I'm going to record it as an unfavorable. And our flexible budget is 166,000 minus 151,000, which is 15,000. And since that's a positive number, I'm going to report that as a favorable variance. Cross EXI. So we have everything we need to find the variance. We're just going to take the flexible budget amount of 289,000 minus the static budget of 306,000. Since that's showing as a negative, I'm going to always report it as a positive number, 17,000, but unfavorable. EX2 or whatever that is, EXII. Again, we have our actual results and our flexible budget. We need to find the flexible variance. So I'll take 254,000 minus 246,000. It gives me 8,000 favorable. Snow LXI. So again, we're missing some things here. So we know that if our actual results were 423 and we have favorable variance, then our flexible budget must be 2,000 less than the actual results, so 421,000. And then if our flexible budget is 421,000 minus our static budget of 401,000, that's going to leave us with what, a $20,000 favorable variance. So now to do our totals, the easiest way is just to add up the flexible budget, and we can get our flexible budget amount. So 314,000 plus 166 plus 289 plus 246 plus 421. gives us 1,436,000. And then we can figure out our variance from there. So if our actual results were 1,442,000 and our flexible budget was 1,436,000, then our variance is 6,000 favorable. And then here, if our flexible budget was 1,436,000 and our static budget was 1,421,500, and our variance is 14,500 favorable. There we go. All right. So based on the data presented, what type of responsibility center is this subunit? Well, since everything it's giving us is revenue, I would assume that this is a revenue center. All right. Which items should be investigated if part of a management's decision criteria is to investigate all variances exceeding 14,000? Using the flexible budget variance as a guide, the following items will be investigated. Well, none of those exceed 14,000. So I'm going to say none of these. Using sales volume variance as a guide, which items? So let's see, which of these exceed 14,000? Well, all of them do. It doesn't matter if it's favorable or unfavorable. They're all variances that exceed 14,000. So I'll say that I'll investigate cross EXI, cross EXII, downhill RI. That's it. All right, so there's the first problem. Now let's take a look at the second problem. So for the second problem, we have, if you look at the bottom and you see 19 parts, it gets scary, but we'll try to use Excel to make it a little bit easier. San Diego Paints has 5 divisions. And it wants us to look at this selected divisional information and calculate some of these measures. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this information over into Excel. Our net sales revenue for the paint stores is 4 million, and our operating income is 472,000 on average total assets of 1,385,000. And then for the consumer side, we have net sales revenue of 1,290,000, operating income of 186,000 on average total assets of 1,595,000. So that's all that information. We can get rid of that so we don't have to keep looking at it. So the first thing it wants us to do is calculate our return on investment. So it wants us to put the formula in there. So the formula for return on investment is just going to be our operating income, which is our return, divided by our investment, which is our average total assets. So we can use Excel here. Whoops. And we'll find our ROI, which is what we just said, which is our operating income divided by our average total assets. Now I went ahead of time and set these up so it would give us our answers in percentage and things like that, just to make it quicker. So the paint store operating income 472,000. Average total assets 1,385,000. And our ROI is 34.08. For our consumer stores, our operating income was 186,000. Average total assets, 1,595,000. Our ROI was 11.66%. So what's nice about Excel is once we do the formula once, we can just fill it and do it for both. So the next thing it wants us to do is our profit margin ratio. And again, it wants us to do the formula first. So our profit margin ratio is just our operating income, our profit, divided by our net sales revenue. So again, we can come up here. We can say that this equals our operating income divided by net sales revenue. And then we can just use the fill it down, and it will calculate both for us. So for the paint stores, operating income was 472,000. Net sales revenue was 4 million, giving us a profit margin ratio of 11.80%. For the consumer side, our operating income was 186,000. Our net sales was 1,290,000, giving us a profit margin ratio of 14.42%. So which division is more profitable for each dollar of sales? Well, the one with the higher profit margin. So we'll say the consumer division is more profitable for each dollar of sales. All right, now they want us to calculate the asset turnover ratio. So our asset turnover ratio is just going to be our, let's see, our operating income divided by our average total assets. I think, whoops, made a mistake there. Sorry about that. Let's see, asset turnover. So that's actually going to be our sales divided by our average total assets, I believe. Sorry about that. So how often are we selling an amount equal to our average total assets? So asset turnover ratio is going to equal our net sales divided by our average total assets. And again, once I have the formula, I can just fill that down. So for the paint stores, net sales revenue is 4 million. Average total assets are 2.8881. Whoops, no. Average total assets are 1,385,000. Average turnover ratio 2.8881. Not average, sorry, asset turnover ratio. For our consumer side, net sales revenue 1,290,000. Average total assets 1,595,000, which gives us an asset turnover ratio of 0.8088. So the blank division is more efficient, and so we would say the division that gives us more sales per dollar of revenue is going to be the more efficient one. So that's going to be the paint store division. All right, use the expanded ROI formula to confirm your results. For requirement 1, interpret your results. So our expanded ROI formula is just going to be our asset turnover ratio times our profit margin ratio equals ROI. So I'll just call this the expanded ROI, EROI. And so we would say that equals profit margin ratio times asset turnover ratio And it should match our ROI computations from before, which it does, so that's good. So using the expanded, the ROI for the paint store division is 34.08. And the ROI for the consumer division is 11.66. All right, so the consumer division's profitability on each dollar of net sales is blank than the paint stores division. So if we go up and look at that, we'd say the consumer division is higher than the paint stores division. However, the paint store division's efficiency is significantly higher than the consumer division's efficiency, right? And go up here and look at efficiency. These results cause the paint store division's ROI, if we look right there, to be higher than the consumer division's. All right, now it wants us to calculate the division's RI, or residual income. So residual income is just our operating income minus our target income, which is going to be our, let's see, net sales revenue times the target rate of return, which is given to us up here as 20%. Uh-oh, what did I do wrong? Operating income minus the target rate. Is it one that in the other order? That would be weird. Target rate of return times net sales. Okay, what am I doing wrong here? Residual income should be our it's our operating income that's over and above our target income, which I thought would be our target rate of return. Oh, but it's our target rate of return on our assets. So sorry about that, average total assets. Okay, sorry about that. Hope that wasn't too confusing. Sometimes even the teacher forgets for a minute, especially if it's late at night. And it's like 1 in the morning as I'm recording this, so my brain's a little squishy. All right, so I'm going to say this equals our operating income minus our target rate of return, which is 20% or 0.2, times our average total assets. That will give us our residual income. So we see that for the paint store division, it is 195,000. And for the consumer division, it is negative 133,000, meaning the consumer division is not meeting that 20% rate of return. Right? Because if you were exactly meeting your target rate of return, then your operating or your residual income would be 0. So blank meeting management's target rate of return. So only the consumer division, only the paint store division is meeting it. And the division with a negative RI should consider eliminating its non-productive assets. Because what it means is that you have assets sitting there that aren't making you any money or aren't making you enough money. And so one way to improve your residual income is to get rid of assets that are just sitting there. All right, so now it wants us to talk through this. Describe some of the factors that management considers when setting minimum target rate of return. Management blank different minimum target rates for different divisions. For example, management blank require a higher rate of return from a division operating a riskier business environment. Management will need to decide blank for the calculations and whether it should be net of blank. Okay, so management may have different minimum target rates of return for different divisions. For example, management might require higher target rate of return from a division operating in a riskier business environment. Management will need to decide blank for the calculation, which assets to include in the total assets for calculations, and whether those assets should be net of accumulated depreciation. There we go. So hopefully this one wasn't too bad. It was long, but not incredibly long. I think it could be done in about between a half an hour and an hour. So good luck, and if you have any other problems, don't be afraid to reach out.